What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today, we're dealing up the master tip when it comes to training your biceps. And remember, for anything to be the master tip, it has to accomplish or meet 4 criteria. Number 1, it has to work. You know that if I show it to you, it's going to work. Number 2, it must not require any additional equipment in order to pull it off. Number 3, it must be something that applies to every single bicep exercise that you're doing, not just selective exercises. And number 4, it has to be something that we all could do instantly and feel instantly. And I'm going to deliver on all 4 accounts here today. So when you're training your biceps, the absolute best thing that you can do if you want to get more from your biceps is bend your wrist backwards when you perform the movement. Now it doesn't have to be much. We're talking about not using a neutral grip and bending back about 20 or 30 degrees. Now the reason for this are many. Let me start by this. If I were to go grab something, and you can just test it yourself, go grab something. Take note of the position of your wrist when you do that. You will see that your wrist is angled, here's neutral from my arm, it's angled up. It's always going to be in some sort of extension because extension is the strongest, most stable position of the wrist, not a neutral position. Now there are a lot of times when you want to use a neutral position of your wrist, when you're doing pressing exercises, when you're doing pushing exercises off the ground, you can get more neutral if you have wrist problems by using blocks or anything, dumbbells to grab onto during a push-up. But when we're talking about a curl here, an open chain curl, an extended position of the wrist is more stable. Next, you might be saying to yourself, but hold on, isn't that kind of a lot of pressure, especially for bending it backwards on a curl? No, it's actually quite the opposite. You are less likely to hurt your wrist in this position. Number 1, because of that stability, and number 2, because you're alleviating the big problem that's caused by doing this. And that is when you don't extend your wrist and make it stay extended as you curl, you're getting too much activation of forearm flexors. And when we curl up, you're going to find that your body wants to get that bar closer to your eyes. That's the visual point. Get that bar up. And if I start to fatigue out here, what I wind up doing is I just curl with my wrist, activate the forearm to get that bar closer to me, even if I'm not really moving the bar that much anymore. So that overactivation of these forearm flexors is way too much for them to handle. They are not that strong, and all that force connects right here. All these forearm flexors connect right here on that medial elbow. That is why way more people wind up with medial elbow pain from bicep training and bicep exercises than they will wrist pain from holding a barbell bent straight, a little bit more backwards. So here's how it looks in action. You can see here, I talked about the straight bar curl. Here it is. As you come up, you're allowing your wrists to stay bent backwards. So in the beginning, they're going to stay pretty much straight, but as soon as you start to lift the bar, you're going to adapt and bend your wrist back just a little bit, again, to about 20, 30 degrees or so. So at the top, you now have peak tension on the biceps, and the biceps are doing all the work here. Okay, you're not allowing the forearm flexors to curl for you, you're letting the biceps do the curl. And it doesn't just end at the straight bar curl. Of course, we could do it with a dumbbell curl, and even if we're doing simultaneous supinating. So as I'm curling up and turning my wrist out for supination of the biceps, you can see I'm also still worried about keeping the wrist bent backwards. And it works again on every single rep, and it's going to, again, I said feel it instantly. You will feel this instantly between 1 rep not doing it and 1 rep doing it. And we can go even further than this. We can go to here to a lip buster. And this is a great exercise actually because you just deaden those hands, you deaden those forearms, you let the biceps do all the curling here. And this is actually a great one because your elbow is raised up in front of you, so your shoulder is flexed, which is a 3rd component of a complete bicep contraction because they do elevate the shoulder. You will feel an incredible contraction when you do this exercise, especially if you do the master tip and hold that wrist in that slightly bent back position. And we can go even further than that. We could take it to a chin-up bar. Yes, the chin-up is a great bicep exercise, especially if you do it, as I call it, the bicep chin-up. So as you pull up, you actively try to pull your wrist backwards a little bit. So I'm almost trying to pull myself straight up to the ceiling this way. As my hands are hanging here, and then I'm trying to pull myself up, and you can see that all the work now is being done by the bicep, and the forearm here is saying, okay, I'm out of this. You're actually extending, so you're making these relax. And then finally, we have a spider curl, which just has a different strength curve than a regular curl because the peak of tension is at the end of the movement, but it doesn't change the fact that we can still do the same bent wrist positioning to make the biceps do more of the work. And you can see my biceps are ready to about pop by now. The fact of the matter is, guys, it's not always, I say this all the time, it's not just the exercises that you're doing, but it's the little things that matter and how you're doing the exercise that makes all the difference in the world. And when it comes to the master tip, I have delivered to you, not just on biceps, but in other muscle groups, that one thing that you can do right now that I promise you is going to work, doesn't require the extra equipment, and doesn't require any extra ability level or skill level to pull it off, and you're going to see the difference here, and it's going to work on every single exercise you do. Try it out, guys. I know it's going to help you. In the meantime, if you're looking for a program that cares about all those little details, because they matter, and I put them all together for you in one step-by-step program, click the program selector link below this video. Go over and use our tool to find out the program that's best suited to your current goals. We actually have an Ultimate Arms program that's geared on training your whole body. It's not just an arm program, but one on helping you to specialize and make sure you're focusing more on your arms. That and all of our other programs are at ATHLEAN-X.com. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, if you like the Master Tip series, let me know. I'll continue it below. All right, guys. See you soon.